people that I admire have been on the long list, on the short list. So it's been like, okay, my time is coming.
Well, first, I'll say congratulations on being on the short list. But
Thank you.
But I kind of feel like for you, it's like normal now, yeah. You have all this
normal. There's
and all this.
Listen, there's no such thing as normal. I screamed when I got that that call.
That's good.
I screamed when I got that call.
So how does this extra feather in your cap feel?
It was to be honest, it felt really good because okay, it was also the timing. I think I had just landed in New Jersey for my grandma's funeral. I was still on the plane when I got the call. So it was just like we land, I put my Wi-Fi on, and then there's a call coming through. And like, have you heard? Have you seen? Congrats. So it was really exciting. It was some good news in the midst of all that. Yeah, it was some good news. And I've always wanted to apply to Afritondo. So yeah, I have. I've always wanted to apply to Afritondo. The first time I didn't apply because my friends were the judge. Two of my friends were the judges. So two of my friends were the judges. So I felt like, I knew that they would not consciously be biased, but I didn't want, there's a reason why there's some rules here, so I just didn't think I should. And then No, the first year, when the theme was love, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And then the second year, last year, I was working on a story, but because I leave everything to the last minute, I was working on the story.
Yeah.
And then power went out. So I couldn't. I was like, oh, well, this is not for me. And then this year, I was like, no, I have to do it. It was last minute still, but I had to do it. At least I didn't want to pass me by.
Well, we are honored that you've been considering Short Story Prize.
I'm so honored to be on the short list. I am really excited.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So what did you hear about Afritondo and the Short Story Prize?
So like I said, in the very first one, my friends were the judges. So when they shared it, I saw it.
Oh.
Yeah, from the very first time it came out, on social media. Okay. Megan Ross. Yeah, so I knew of it from then.
Okay.
Yeah. And ever since, people that I admire have been on the long list, on the short list. So it's been like, okay, my time is coming.
Your time is now.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, so, well, just a few personal things, then we go into your story.
Okay.
I was trying to do a bit of background research. I saw that you were a scientist.
Yeah.
That's quite interesting because what I've found is that I love entries and I love stories coming to the website, to the story prize that are written by doctors and different kind of scientists or people with science backgrounds. And I'm wondering what's going on?
Yeah, we had this joke that we used to say that writing is a science, but but yeah, that's just about me and my other scientist writer friends. But yeah, I was I have a master's degree in biotechnology. I was doing a PhD in microbiology. I started it in 2016. And I think midway, I decided that, you know what, I think writing is what I really want to do with my life. Yeah, so, yeah. My parents probably think it's a quarter life crisis, but yeah, whatever.
That makes sense. So how are you finding the MFA?
It's good. It's a bit tougher than I thought it would be. Yeah, because there's all these books that you have to read. The last time that I read for leisure, I don't remember the last time that I read for leisure because they're all these you're just finishing one onto the next one. So, but it's hectic, but it's good. You're getting what you came here for. So, you're meeting all these people. Yeah.
So compared to the PhD, what do you think is? What would you think is more is harder?
I think the PhD. I think there were different lives.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah,
I think the PhD, I was doing it because I could. But the MFA, I'm doing it because, well, I love writing. So yeah. So I think they are both difficult. They are both very. The PhD is very research heavy, and it's a lot. Yeah. And also because I started doing the PhD around the time when the crisis in the country started. So it was extra difficult. Yeah, we had to, there was like internet cuts for 4 months and you had to travel every week to do an assignment and then come back. So it was hectic. So putting that into, and this is America. So somehow, I know how it sounds, but somehow it's a bit easier. It's tough as hell, but I think the lifestyle is a bit easier because I don't need to travel far to do research on stuff that I want to do. Yeah.
So your PhD was in Cameroon?
It was in Cameroon. The master's degree was in Bangladesh. Oh. Yeah, but the PhD was in Cameroon.
Oh, you're well traveled.
Well, not as much as I'd like to.
Okay, cool. So, of course, since you mentioned the conflict in Cameroon, I was wondering, so did that affect your PhD and maybe probably made you write more? Has that influenced your writing in any way?
Yes. I mean, of course, because the crisis started when I was doing my PhD. It's sort of, the PhD became harder in the sense that I had to do an extra work, to get, like I told you, traveling all the way just to do an assignment. It became a bit tough. So when I started getting accolades in quotes for writing, it felt like a better place to be. I'll miss finals for maybe I get invited for Ake Festival and I have to travel because there's no way that I'm going to do finals when I've been invited for it, right? So I think around that period, I made a decision even without knowing.
Okay. So we got cut off the last time. So just pick up lift.
Okay, great.
Anyway, I guess so I was going to ask you next, how you found writing. I mean, since you have a very science background, so when did you realize that you could actually write and fall in love with the craft?
That's an interesting question. I think that like most people who write, it's something that I've always been doing. I just didn't know that I could do it as a career until I met the founder of Back Home Magazine, Zekashu Magriban. So he's basically the one who introduced me into, basically told me I could do it, and then introduced me into like the writer's life. We spoke about publishing, we spoke about all these things, and it just got me really intrigued. Yeah, so he was the one who showed me, that it was possible.
Okay, well that's nice. That's quite interesting. Okay, but did you always know that you had a talent in you and just did not know how to explore?
Well, I knew that I wrote. I didn't think about it as talent because I grew up keeping like journals. So you just know that it's something that you write. I was a good literature student, but I was also a good science student, and that comes across. Anyway. So I didn't think of it as knowing how to write. I just thought of it as writing, right? And then I started maybe getting a sense that I'm probably good at this when stuff gets published and people be like, oh, I really love that. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's nice, But I didn't really think about it as talent before then. I just thought about it as writing.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about your story. So Grotto. It's a very, very interesting story. particularly liked it.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, I loved the language. I loved the idea of the letters. So it's like a series of letters from a friend to another friend. The style.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering, what was the inspiration behind it?
So I always wanted to write a letter story, a story about a story like that, like a story, a series of letters, right? But I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure. So actually, one of my friends here, he was talking about how he's working on a story like that, like a series of letters, but he wasn't just, there was something there that he was missing. So he was just bouncing it off of me. And I was like, oh, wait, I can actually maybe do this. And he was the one who was like, yeah, you should do it. And then maybe we can compare notes or something. And yeah, so I thought about writing the story like just plain without the letter thing. But then I also thought maybe I should explore this. I've never done this before. I should try it. And yeah, so I did. And it was also like a channel of just, if it's a letter, friends in like teenagers, you really just write it the way that you will talk to your friend, which makes it like easier to, I guess.
Yeah, I guess you really did a good work with that because it really came out very well. It's well written, it's well written.
Thanks.
I can't wait for that put to have a taste of it, to be able to read it for themselves. It was really good. So was it a story you've always had, or did you write it particularly for the prize?
Okay, so I feel like the premise of the story, right? I don't know if you'll be talking too much if I say that, like, the premise of the story is something that I have always thought about. Yeah, it's something that I've always thought about because I've been hearing a lot of stories about it, and well, not a lot, because maybe one story that you hear about it is one story enough. But I've heard about it quite a bit. So it's always been in my mind, the premise of the story. But then I remember when I saw the theme of Afritondo, because I was looking forward to the next year, since I couldn't submit last year. I was looking forward to the next Afritondo. So when I saw spirituality, I'm like, what do I write now? And then that came to me, and I was like, okay, then I need to build a story around it. So the premise had always been there, but the story I had to build around it for the prize.
Okay. So so perhaps it's a good time to ask the question how you understand spirituality and how you try to weave spirituality into your story.
Yeah. Yeah, like that's interesting. I feel like spirituality is different for different people. I feel like people who believe in souls, I feel like it's another realm of. I feel like it's a complex concept, but it's also why in my story I try to show different kinds of spirituality. I don't know if you caught on that. Different kinds of ways that people see spirituality. But I feel like it's an otherness, something above, something you look onto, an inner self also. Just something you can't quite touch, but it's there, and something you believe in. I feel like that's spirituality for me.
Okay, if any young person were watching this interview, like a young writer, and I was thinking about your writing process. So is there something you do before you write? Do you have a ritual? Do you so what's the process for you? Like, if you want to write a story, where do you start from? Do you just sit down and write 5,000 words, or do you break it down in stages and steps and see where it takes you?
Deadlines. So I really do sit down and write 5,000 words. only because so my process is this: when I'm thinking of a story, I let it play in my head over and over again for a while, so that when I sit down to write it, I really just write it. I think that the few times that I haven't done that and sat down to say, let the story lead me, I think that the stories have not led me. Yeah, so I've written them up to a certain point and just, but then, I feel like I think of a story. If I get inspiration from something, or I think of a story, I think of the characters, I think of, I play it over and over. I think of maybe the first line, maybe the last line. I think of, I think of it, I let it simmer in my head for a while, so that when I sit to write it, I really just write it, because I don't like going back and forth on a story. So that's it. I think of it for a while, and then I sit down and I just write it all at once.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay. So just going back to your story, to Grotto, it's really interesting. One of the characters, I don't know if I'm giving the story away now, but anyway, I've never really seen someone who is dead be so active in the story.
Yeah.
So was that your way of rethinking or trying to, have a discussion around the meaning of death and, in a way, the afterlife? Is this a way to kind of challenge the normative understanding of what the afterlife is?
It was my way of not challenge, but also because most of my writing deals with trying to understand as opposed to challenge. Because I have heard stories of people dying and coming back, and being in the community until someone finds out that they are dead, and then they go and they don't come back. So I guess I was trying to understand, I was just trying to play with that, and it was more like to understand. So in the story now, we are giving it away. You started, so I'll finish it. So it was more like the boy sister promised to take care of him, and so even after death, she did try to hook him up with someone who will. So she'll be sure that he's fine, And even if he was in the weirdest way possible, but she did make sure that her brother was fine even after death. That's what I was trying to play with. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, well, good. Okay, it's been a long day, so I'll just ask you one more question and then I'll let you go. So what would you say to young aspiring writers who are looking up to you? What's that advice you have for them?
Right. I mean, it sounds banal, but I feel like just read, write. And there are so many times when you feel like your work is not good enough. Sometimes you need to put in the work to make it better. Sometimes it is good enough and it's just your head playing with you. So do the work, research things that will make you better, make you a better writer. Always ask, always read. And yes, right, because at the end of the day, it's the stories that will make you the writer, right? Stories that are written, as opposed to just maybe thinking that you're one.